Shortcuts have long been one of my favorite ways to save time and automate some activities within Excel. I'd like to share some of my more favorite ones with you. Probably the most commonly asked question is, how can I go ahead and put two lines in the same cell in Excel? The answer: use the Alt key in conjunction with Enter when you're going to do your data entry. For instance, I'm going to type in first line. Now, instead of just hitting Enter, I'm going to hit the Alt, the Alt key, which is next to the space bar, and then hit Enter. You will notice that it automatically brings me to a second line. I'll hit Enter, and both the first line and second are now in the cell. Let's go up to the formula bar for a moment. Off to the right-hand side, you'll notice a toggle bar. This allows me now to go to the second line and the first line. You can have as many lines in one cell as you would like to. Now, as we work with our shortcut, of course, all of the basic shortcuts are available within Excel. They're very easy to remember also, because most of them start with the first letter of the word. For instance, if I'd like my title now to be in bold, I'll go to Control and B for bold. If I'd like italics, Control and I for italics. Notice the changes right on the screen. I'd also like you to notice that on the ribbon, I have turned on the bold and the italics function. When working with the shortcuts, I'm actually toggling these features on and off, and I can see them right on the screen. Now, along with splitting a line within a cell, I also like to take advantage of the Alt key for putting in an AutoSum. Let's set up an example. First, in order to use the AutoSum, I need some numbers, so I'd like to introduce the Autofill option. I am going to type in a number, and now I'm going to fill it on the screen. On the cell, you will notice that there is a black square at the lower side. I'm going to place my mouse on it. It turns to a plus sign. Click, hold, and drag. Now, I clicked with the right side of my mouse, and I'm presented with a menu that allows me to choose Fill Series. If I was to click with the left side of the mouse, it would only have filled the number. In this example, I'm doing a left click, and you noticed it copied. In the first example, I'm going to do a right click, and when I use that right click, you will notice that it's actually going to allow me a choice, and I can fill the series. That's really the difference between the left and right. Left to select what you see on the screen, right to get more options. Now that I have my numbers on the screen, I can simply select the Alt key again, the Alt key, and this time the plus sign. When I do, notice how the sum function comes up automatically. Simply hit Enter, and my total is on the screen, never having to touch the mouse. Many of us use notebooks and laptops, and we find that conversion back and forth to the mouse can be just a little bit of a nuisance. Understanding that everything can be done on the keyboard is really an advantage. Other shortcuts that come in handy is the ability to select anything on the screen. I'm going to hold my Shift key down with the space bar this time. When I do, notice how I selected a row. If I'd like to deselect, I simply use the arrow key on the keyboard. This time I'm going to do the same thing with the Control key. Control, spacebar, and I selected the column. I like to think in terms of C for control, C for column. Control, spacebar is the column, and Shift, spacebar is the row. If I do both of them in conjunction with each other, first the row and then the column, I select the entire worksheet. I'd also like you to keep in mind that we can format our numbers this way. I'm going to use the $ on my keyboard to automatically change the number 1 into currency. This time, Control Shift and the $ automatically puts on my currency. Control Shift and the tilde automatically puts on the number format. Now, the tilde is the little squiggle mark that you'll find just under the Escape key. I do, of course, realize that going through these shortcuts very quickly can be hard to absorb. You will note that in the work files that accompany this video, I have given you a listing of these shortcuts. I'd encourage you to go through this list and pick out your favorites. You will note at the bottom the tilde, the percentage, dollar, all of the number formats are there for you. The advantage of working with shortcuts is time. One thing I'd like you to keep in mind as you go through these shortcuts is don't try to use them all. Find the ones that really help you along. Use those. Don't worry about the rest.